Thomas Flohr, founder and chairman of VistaJet. You're very welcome to Bloomberg Television today, sir. A big order that you are about to place, really expanding the complexion of the fleet. Can you give us a flavour of what that is?
We ordered 14 new long-range aircraft. That's a reconfirmation of an order and a new order we're placing, plus 6 medium-range aircraft. So in total, approximately 20 aircraft we're adding to the fleet, which takes our order book to about $1.3 billion.
So that's a very bullish call on where private air travel is going to. Now, where is that demand going to come from?
Well, we see very, very strong growth in the intercontinental traffic. Hence, that's why we placed the long-range aircraft order. We see a lot of flying deep into Siberia. We see a lot of traffic into Africa. We see a lot of traffic into Asia, China, etc. And it's really, if you take the typical owner of a business, he needs to get from A to B to Z in the most efficient way. And from a commodity location somewhere in Siberia to fly to Abuja, that's really only possible with a long-range jet. And that's where the drive of our business.
Is that where the demand's coming from industrial owners rather than the uber wealthy section of the world?
Well, it's really used as a business tool, and the entrepreneur and owner of an aircraft. I always say either our client is the large owner of or is the owner of a large stake in a company, or he's he has his own business, and he needs to get from these locations in the most efficient way. So it's the entrepreneur-driven rather than the corporate-driven business where we see the growth.
And are they price sensitive? I mean, if they're entrepreneurs, just price just not matter to these guys?
I think they're value sensitive. I think they want to have the best service in the cabin. They want to have the aircraft available within the shortest notice period possible. They want to use it as a business tool. They want internet on the aircraft. They want to be efficient when they fly these long hauls. And I think that's really the driver. And it's really an extension of their lifestyle. They typically have homes in different cities around the globe. Maybe the company is listed on the London Stock Exchange, or maybe they have a yacht in the Mediterranean, and they're used to a certain lifestyle. And that lifestyle is really extended by our air transportation with VistaJet to get them to these locations. So it's really the value rather than the price.
But just sticking with value, I mean, the huge headwinds for the industry as a total in terms of operational costs, in terms of fuel costs over the past year. Does that mean that you're able to actually raise the pricing in terms of the model that you're running at the moment?
We have obviously there is a flexibility in the fuel price. We pass the fuel prices increases on, but I make a typical example. A Moscow to London would maybe be a 35,000 euro flight on a Challenger. And with the current fuel prices, that price would increase to 37,000. So, given the magnitude of the cost, it's not that significant.
And in terms of VistaJet, there are two key products for you. One is buy a jet, we'll run it for you, lease it back from us, and the other is on demand. Where's the demand? Where's the focus for the company in terms of the demand?
The focus of the company, and this is actually a very significant quarter for us. For the first time, the company has more demand for our program. Program is where somebody buys guaranteed availability. You buy typically 100 hours per year on a 3-year contract. Very simple contract, 3 pages. You have an obligation to pay, I have an obligation to transport, and we show up anywhere in the world on shortest notice possible. And people want the stability in pricing, and they want a guaranteed VistaJet aircraft. They don't want to be subchartered. They want to be in that silver metallic aircraft with a beautiful cabin and the service we provide. So the on-demand market is for people who occasionally fly, but again, that has no guaranteed availability, and the price is the price of the day. So those are the two sides of the business.
And in terms of growth, is it purely organic growth that will take VistaJet forward, or how do you envisage the strategy over the next medium term?
Well, we have put a very solid infrastructure in place. I'll give you an example. Over the last 2.5 years, from the beginning of the crisis in summer '08 to today, we doubled as a company. So we doubled in size of airplanes, we doubled in size of number of customers, and we were able to take market share. So
did you get value? I mean, were you able to strike much better deals during the downtime in terms of buying capacity for the business?
We saw prices lower in the crisis, very clear, but prices have picked up significantly, especially at the top end of the market. The manufacturer is sold out now until first quarter 2014. So we're seeing a 3-year backlog again. and prices are significantly on the rise. We're at the beginning of a cycle. If I look back at the last cycle, this is probably comparable right now with the summer '04, when the world came out of the last crisis, and so we see strong demand, and it's especially at the bigger the aircraft, the stronger the demand.
And what do you think the mood is going to be at eBase over the next couple of days?
Well, I think after a couple of years of a down mood, it's going to be a positive mood out there. I think people will place orders. I'm not sure about the size of the orders. Obviously, we believe we're going to lead the industry with this significant order, and I think it's a general more upbeat mood out there. Asset prices are increasing, and you have a typical psychological effect where you're playing with the thought of buying an aircraft, and you know that next quarter it might be more expensive than this quarter, so you might jump on the bandwagon and actually confirm your order today. And that was one of the major drivers where last summer we saw that strong demand at VistaJet, and in a couple of very intense negotiations with Bombardier, we ended up placing an order end of last year, early this year, early enough in the cycle, which positions us for the growth over the next 3 to 4 years.
And how do you get to the top of the, when you go into those negotiations with somebody like Bombardier, how do you manage to push your competitors aside in terms of grabbing supply chain share?
Well, it's a very good question. We're the largest customer of Bombardier since many years, by a long shot. We are the company which paid the most invoices to Bombardier over the
favorite nation status.
I wouldn't call it favorite nations, but it's obviously we have a preferred status as a long-term and a large client. I think Bombardier wants to see us succeed globally. We're a great brand ambassador, whether you're deep in Mongolia or China, wherever we are with our aircraft. It's a very good-looking aircraft with that silver metallic and a red stripe background, and I think they clearly see the advantage of VistaJet with a absolutely identical fleet all over the world, which nobody has ever done before in this industry, really creating a brand. And I think that brand extension from VistaJet then reflects on Bombardier. So we're good partners.
I want to take you right back to the start of this conversation. We talked a little bit about the nature of the planes that you're ordering. Which countries, you talked about expansion globally, but which countries are you seeing the biggest demand come from within the BRIC, Brazil, Russia, India, China, that you so closely covered?
I would like to extend that to PRINC. I would like to add an N in that, because we see very strong traffic in the west coast of Africa.
Right.
And so we put Nigeria, the N, into the PRINC. We definitely, as I said, Nigeria, West Coast Africa is a strong growth market. Russia is definitely, with oil prices back over $100, is booming again. It's the natural resources far in Siberia, which requires a lot of flying into that region. And for the first time, I'm sensing it that really China is on the map. People kept on talking about China for many years, and it was a so-so growth. But now the Chinese definitely are committed to this industry. They just recently opened up approximately 120 airports, from 40 to 160 where private jets can fly into. They're even playing with the thought of eventually producing a private jet. So the private jet business is a major strategic goal for the Chinese government, and they're supporting it. Today you can fly into China with 8 hours notice, you get an overflight license. So we see very strong growth from that area.
And just very briefly, you really seem to get quite passionate there about China. Does that mean that it's a joint venture that would build your business in China, or would you seek to do that under the VistaJet brand alone?
We feel that the VistaJet brand is a very strong brand, has grown dramatically over the last 5 to 6 years, and I believe that brand has value. It's a global business, so I wouldn't see the value of a joint venture type of combination, because by definition of this business, it is a transportation logistics business which flies you anywhere in the world, including China. So we definitely want to expand the VistaJet brand into China. We'll have different conversations at present point in time, and I'm going to be reporting to you as we speak during 2011 of how these conversations are going. But it's definitely the Far East, obviously the long haul flying, which will gain momentum. And we currently do have 2 aircraft in Hong Kong flying daily in and out of China, so we're gaining a lot of experience from a day-to-day operations point of view.
Excellent. We wish you every success with your orders and with the growth of the business. Thomas Flohr, founder and chairman of VistaJet, thank you very much for taking the time to join us.
Thank you.